Hey guys, this is Joe B with another chess lesson. Here I'm analyzing a Blitz game that I played, a French defense Blitz game, with me being the black pieces. And it was pretty interesting. It was an exchange French. I got queenside, queenside kind of, well, we'll see what happens. Queenside was a little bit dull. There's actually a lot of action on the king side. So let's see that. It's a pretty respectable game. Getting higher and higher rated, which is nice. C3 very passive. It's like he's trying to play the black side almost. So I'm playing my usual system of bishop d6 and then knight e7, keeping f6 as an option against the pin. This was cool because I decided to just take that whole diagonal since you put bishop on e2 passively. I'm like, I'm going to take that whole diagonal. So there we go. Got that achieved. That's technically my bad bishop, so I'm willing to trade it if he plays bishop d3. So this one I'm talking about the knight, bishop g5, and then I'm coming in with f6 to break that pin instantly. And it also initiates a kingside attack. Bishop h4. Passive a little bit. Knight d7 is not too passive. But after seeing this move, it's a little passive. Knight f8, it looks kind of shoddy. Yet you'll see grandmasters retreat their knights a lot to get on the right squares, and I know that f4 is going to be a powerful square, so knight g6 to f4, knight e6 to f4, those are all going to be important in this game. Develop my queen for me, thank you. I know it's technically my good bishop that you exchanged your bad bishop, yet gave me a little bit of speed. I'm not going to trade a bishop for a knight in this position. Retreat back. Your knight's going to give me a tempo with g5. This I'm talking about the kingside attack. It's the whole thing. I'm ready to start pawn storming already. Move 13. Ready to start pawn storming. Throws that check. I don't have too much respect for that move, because if he ever exchanges that knight, man, my rook's going to have a huge file. And he can't really allow that, especially with the light square bishop staying in play. Which is a nice attacking piece for me. Knight back after it's threatened. Knight has nowhere to go, really, right now. The pawn at f6 guarding its penetration squares into my camp. That's why I castle queenside. So that's like the queenside play right here. Like sweet attack with my rooks and everything, opposite edges of the board castling. It's really, really beautiful game, so I wanted to show it. Knight to e1, so I told you guys the knight didn't really have much places to go, so there it goes back. And now my knight gets to go to f4, like I was talking about. That knight maneuver from b8 to b8 to d7 to f8 to g6 and then to f4. Yeah, that's the same knight, because this knight came from g8. So that's a wonderful maneuver, really. And then finally it's there, threatening the bishop. He doesn't want to exchange that bishop because that would have a trump card in the late middle game into the end game. Bishop back, alright, don't exchange it. And I'm coming in with this pawn storms. It's great. My king's not really in danger at all. The only thing would be queen a4 and then slide over to b8 and I'm fine. Knight e3, whatever. I'm going to support that knight with my other knight so I can retain that post. It's like some cool, sexy knight maneuvers, which I really like. And I like that my king is safe too. And he's not really immune to this coming attack. This attack is powerful. That's why he's compelled to play g3 right here, because I'm coming down with my pawns. Looks okay, yet I can flick in this intermezzo, because he doesn't want to play like pawn takes knight, and then I take the bishop. If he takes back with the queen, then I can play bishop g4 maybe to threaten the queen, or play rook g8 first, check, king moves over, threaten the queen. There's all sorts of tactics. It'd be very scary for him to play g takes f4. So he moved back, and then now I play that check. The only reason I didn't scoop up the bishop, which also would have been good and give me an advantage, might be better, but I just don't want his rook to be able to move over to h1. It probably would have been better to actually scoop up that bishop, but it's Blitz, you know. Maybe that would have been cool, taking and then playing h4. Honestly, YouTube audience is probably a little bit better. It's a 5-minute game, so I threw the check. I thought it would be like kind of like a dare, get my knight down deep in the camp. F5's come in, you know, and then F4 again, which is awesome. Pawn takes if it does. I don't think he does, but then F4 gives queen and bishop, and honestly, a really good attack. So he takes the knight. You know, I get the bishop anyway, and then I get a fawn pawn on h3. Which is really powerful. My light squared bishop's amazing now because he doesn't have one to defend. Knight to d2. Finally, that knight wakes up. Hit the queen. Queen d3. h4. Rook g1. H takes. F takes. Rook down, threaten the queen. Queen back. F takes, rook takes rook, pawn takes rook, queen takes. I'm up a pawn here, officially, and I have a bishop in endgame. So this is a one endgame for me. I'll trade queens. Maybe there was some attack, but I really like this position. You'll see why. This is one of the strongest positions in chess. You know, not in like, you know, technical positions with all the pieces on the board, but just a bishop and a pawn connected like that. The pawn is protecting the bishop, and the bishop is protecting the pawn. That's just one of the strongest positions in chess, and there's a stone in my heart, admittedly, for that. I really love that position. Rook d1, activating the rooks, a little bit of a dance, and even more probing on the queen side. Offer to trade rooks. He says no. I trade rooks. And then there's a fantastic move coming up, which I really, really love. Well, king a5 isn't it? Coming into those pawns. Probably locking the pawns first would have been a little bit more prudent, or I'm not really sure. Maybe letting the a pawn ahead of the king first. That might have been better. Probably not putting my king first, but the pawns first and breaking up his pawns, so my king would have been effective, like b5 and a5, and then b4, and then I sacrifice a pawn, but still get to come in with my king and take on b4, and then move king b3, and then take on b2, and win the pawn in the long run. And then he exchanges on g2, and the king takes, and the pawn takes, and he wins the pawn back, but then I have a one pawn advantage, and, you know, I win some glorious endgame. That's what I was thinking. And it would have been better, honestly, than just playing the king in front. But whatever, it's Blitz. You know, I was running low a really long time. b3, b5. And then here's like the best part of the game, in my opinion, is that after he takes there, I can play b2 here. So that's another thing to say about this bishop guarding the pawn and the pawn guarding the bishop is, even though the king's there, the knight takes the bishop, and I can play h2 here. There's no way to defend the ascension square, which is insane. Like, there's just no way to defend it. It's so awesome that, like, that bishop was guarding the pawn the whole time, and eventually we move it down after the knight takes. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful move. Maybe not in a tournament, but in Blitz, that's beautiful. In a tournament, it might just be sad. But anyway, it's a trump card to remember. It's like, yo, I knew that the whole time in the tournament that you couldn't take that bishop because then I just push. Isn't that some shit? Anyways, that pawn ascended. Yet, I have such few seconds left in this position that I'm not able to win this. And then I just took off the material and accepted the draw, which is what happened. There wasn't that much time. Maybe I could have won, but I only had 2.7 seconds left, so there. But anyways, it's a really good game, Boom, 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 boom. Time's ticking out. I think John Lennon said that time wounds all heals. And those pawns just didn't take their heels off the ground fast enough to run. Thank you. This is Joe Bennett, Live Chess Blitz.